So my number one is a film that is. I could talk about this movie with every single theme I think we've talked about so far, because it has such a large impact on my life and my love of film. But that's Star Wars. So the original Star Wars from 1977, directed by George Lucas, score by John Williams. The IMDb plot thread for the zero people who've never heard of this film: Luke Skywalker joins forces with a Jedi Knight, a cocky pilot, a Wookiee, and two droids to save the galaxy from the Empire's world-destroying battle station, while also attempting to rescue Princess Leia from the mysterious Darth Vader. So for me, and this is kind of the case with a lot of different things, with Star Wars actually, but this was the first movie that made me really understand like what a film score was. Who are composers? What do they do? This is John Williams, my introduction to him. I mean, it's not like I can actually remember the first time I saw this movie. I've seen this movie so many times over the course of my entire life. It's like always been with me. But this was the first soundtrack that I ever bought. I mean, I know we're not on a video podcast, but I actually have the record behind me that, maybe I'll show you after this, that I bought when I was a kid, of a record of this soundtrack that I play all the time. I transferred it to tape. But I think my love of this movie opened up a world to me of what were all the different aspects of filmmaking? Like, why do I love this so much? And the score is a major part of it. I mean, even George Lucas famously credits John Williams with making this film work. There's so many things, moments in this movie where the score is doing all of the lifting. Not only kind of some of it are adding to it, but, the famous scene of Luke Skywalker looking off into with the twin sunsets, and he's this farm boy who's dreaming of more. And like, what can my life be? And I'm too big for this farm life. The score is what is saying that. And then for me too, talking about The Rock with one of my favorite sequences of all time being the end of that film. I'm definitely top 3 or 2 maybe for me in terms of movie sequences is the final Death Star trench run at the end when the X-Wing fighters are attacking the Death Star to blow it up. And so much of that excitement and energy is through the music. If you watch this film silently, I think a lot of the more problems with the film could come out in terms of the more stage direction or not incredible acting or dialogue. If you remove the music, this movie becomes less. Not that this movie isn't perfect in every way, which it is. I'm not trying to knock Star Wars, but what John Williams did here is just really, really very important to the success of this film and to the emotion of the film. He is really that emotion that carries through this entire film. But again, like for me, this was the beginning of my love of film score. Started with John Williams, then would buy the Jaws soundtrack, Indiana Jones, E.T., like all of the greatest films that I loved as a kid were all scored by him. But it was this movie and appreciating this soundtrack that really started my whole love affair with scores to begin with. I don't think I'd have a collection of hundreds of movie scores and be such a fanatic around this component of filmmaking if it wasn't for John Williams and if it wasn't for Star Wars. So I can't speak enough. I mean, I've seen this film live in concert with an orchestra being played against the film, and a lot of the people are there just as much to hear the music be played live than to watch the film. And I've seen John Williams in concert ever since I was a little boy. I mean, he was a conductor of the Boston Pops when I was growing up, so it was easy for me to then see him live, and he played the music live. I mean, I can't. It definitely shaped a lot of my life, shaped through this particular score.
I didn't know that he was in Boston. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, he would conduct the Pops. It was see him all the time and in concerts. And of course he'd play this. You can't leave a John Williams concert unless he plays the Star Wars theme. So
no. I mean, honestly, I don't know what more I could add than what you've already said and what, every person on this planet or maybe other planets have said about this.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, another one, a force to be reckoned with for sure. Yeah, I mean, I put Harry Potter in there because I have sort of more of a personal connection to it. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the grammar of film scores, this is it, I think, in my mind too. Like if somebody were to stop me on the street and just say, "Oh, name one movie score," this would be it. And I think this would be it for probably most people, which is incredible that not only that John Williams created this, but he's credited with so many more of scores that are not that far behind from this score. But I think this is sort of the pinnacle. There's no question about that. My favorite memory of listening to the score is, I feel like at Disneyland, you're in some of the Star Wars theme. I haven't seen the new one, but even the other ones that exist there, when you're waiting in line and the score plays and you get this sense of like excitement and giddiness and, you know, that feeling that you're going to shoot off to another place. I can't even put that into words, but I remember that feeling. But that's the power of the score. You're not even watching the movie, you're just in the environment of the movie, but the score does all the work to kind of put you in that front seat, you know, right there, right then. So yeah, it's just brilliant. So I mean, no dispute here for this being at your number one.
Yeah, I mean, really too, you know, he influenced, he kind of brought back that large orchestral score from 30s and 40s Hollywood back into vogue. And I think probably the rest of the items, the composers on our list, or at least the films on our list, probably wouldn't have had such orchestral heavy scores if it wasn't for what he did and sort of bringing that back. That was not in vogue at all at the time. You watch other films from the 70s and it definitely were not. You can tell like the post Star Wars John Williams and the pre Star Wars John Williams just in terms of film scores. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad we also got to talk about Williams at the beginning of the episode, and now here we're back at the end. I mean, I think that does show that, you know, modern film scores, or at least when we were growing up, everything starts and ends with what Williams did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.